Hi, I'm Dr. Drew.
I'm Anna Marie Cox.
I'm Surgeon General Vivek Murthy.
My name's Danny Trejo.
Hi, I'm Joe Walsh, and I'm here tonight because I have been through the depths of addiction.
I'm here because I've lost a loved one to addiction.
I'm here because recovery is possible, and if I can do it, you can do it.
I'm here because I'm stronger than addiction.
I'm here because so many young artists feel that drugs and alcohol is an outlet to creativity, and I'm here to tell you guys that it's not.
Addiction is running rampant in America.
Addiction touches almost everyone in our country, either directly or indirectly.
And we need to deal with this epidemic now.
Welcome to Listen, Facing Addiction in America. Addiction is something that affects all of us in some way. Right now, 20 million Americans suffer from addiction. They are our family, coworkers, friends, and loved ones.
And it's become such a big problem that yesterday, for the very first time ever, Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy addressed the nation with a report on the nation's addiction crisis. And tonight, we are here to honor and acknowledge this really historic first step in tackling our epidemic. We're also here to tell our own stories of addiction, recovery, and triumph.
So first, let's welcome our guest. He's a recording artist who's worked with Eminem, Dr. Dre, and tonight he's here with us. Please welcome Royce da 5'9". And next to him, we have legendary singer-songwriter from the Eagles and a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Please welcome Joe Walsh.
So, Joe, I want to ask you first, how do you think listening can help break that cycle?
Well, it's the beginning of hope, I would think. I didn't listen to anybody. And by the grace of God, I'm 22 years sober today because I started listening.
So the addict needs to start listening. Yeah.
Yes, the addict needs to start listening. And if you're going to help them, you need to listen to the addict.
I understand it was actually another artist that helped you start on your road to recovery.
Eminem is actually a very, very good friend of mine. He's also in recovery. He actually told me, we were sitting in the studio one day and he said, we were talking about something completely off topic, and he said, Royce, you know, if you ever feel like you got a problem, you can call me, right? And it just kind of stuck with me, kind of resonated with me, because I was like, what is he getting at? Is he trying to, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Maybe a couple months later, I ended up calling my dad, my manager, Keno, and I ended up calling Eminem in tears. I had what I would like to call a spiritual awakening, and I told him, I'm finished. It's time for me to stop. And he said, Royce, right now, you're at your strongest. You're finally admitting that you're powerless over alcohol.
And so when loved ones are confronted with someone who they think needs help, what do you think is the best path for them to take?
I think the first thing is show compassion. You know, so many families are uneducated in what addiction really is. And so the family, you know, it's hard depending on how the family feels. You know, that's what the addict sees. And if it's belligerent, the addict's out of there.
I know with me, speaking from personal experience, it was really good for me that my wife kind of put her foot down. I walked all over her for a lot of years. When I started to feel like that I can actually lose her, that's when it was time for me to make some changes.
So sometimes if a family member sort of draws a line
Yes.
Yeah.
and says, I can't do any more than this,
Yeah.
you're going to have to.
You have to stop enabling.
The conundrum is they can't do it out of fear and anger, though. They have
Right.
to do it out of love, and that is really a tough line to walk.
Yes. When you're mad.
Yes, when they're mad and hurt. They're mad, hurt, and scared, too.
Well, they call it loving detachment, right?
Loving detachment, not loving to death, as they many times
And not
do.
loving attachment either.
And again, that requires that person has to have their own support in order to pull that off, or else they'll get sucked right back in. Yeah?
Yep.
I know as someone who has a loved one in addiction, it was important for me to find people with loved ones in addiction.
There's a program
And
for that.
There is a program for that. There is actually a program for that. And look for help from them. Like
Yes.
for me to go to another addict that was in recovery that's not as helpful for the loved ones. Loved ones find loved ones. People in recovery find people in recovery.
I think the four of us up here would say it's a spectrum disorder. We're looking at the big spectrum from mild to moderate
Yes.
to severe to fatal.
Yeah.
And it's often fatal. That's the thing we got to all remember. This is a dangerous illness. It has a worse prognosis than most cancers today. And for some reason, it's one we've not in the last 20 years dealt with the way we're finally dealing with it today. I want to thank Royce, of course, and Joe Walsh for sharing their stories with us. Coming up, we'll be talking about stigma. Guess what? There's some stigma associated with this disorder. The stigma of addiction and how we overcome it. We'll be right back.
You're good, but
Thank you very much.
1 in 7 people in the U.S. is expected to develop a substance use disorder at some point in their lives. Imagine if 1 in 7 people were expected to be bitten by a shark at some point in their lives. We would really need to rethink the way we handle sharks. Maybe it's time we rethink the way we handle substance use disorders.